We have an update on the cell phone-free instructional environment. Dr. Swift.
Thank you, Madam President and members of the board. We are delighted this evening to just bring a very brief update on our work to really prioritize and lift up the work of our teachers and students inside our classrooms across Lawrence Public Schools, and to lift that work up by reducing and removing the distraction of cell phones in the classroom. I just want to thank everyone across the system who have joined together really to make progress on something we know that the research supports that reduction of the distraction of technology because of academic achievement and growth, our critical mission, and then also because of mental health and social emotional wellness, something that we're very well aware of, particularly with the Surgeon General coming out to issue a concern not too long ago about the risk and the dangers of social media. So we really are out to reduce the distractions. We've been on this. The board was on this last year, and then during the fall, we really geared up to bring things to fruition. So just a little bit of preparation back on. I don't know why I'm not getting to turn. I'm pointing it at you. Okay, no worry. There we go. Back on December 9th, just a little context to remind folks, the board passed policy JCAA, cell phones and electronic devices. Really, the component here is that classrooms will be cell phone free during the instructional day to ensure a productive, respectful, and safe learning environment throughout the district. So I've asked our directors of schools, J.C. Roberson at elementary, Dr. Wayman Irvin at secondary, to really just give us a very brief update on how it's going. As you're aware, members, the third quarter was really about learning and practicing and developing a new habit. Lots of research says it takes a long time to change a habit, to break a habit, to develop a new habit. So that was third quarter. Now that we're into fourth quarter, we really are full implementation and seeing how our students are doing with this expectation. Now, while we're accomplishing that work at secondary, Ms. Roberson and the elementary team have been busy analyzing and really were tasked, as you recall, members, to bring us back a recommendation as we move forward for school year 25-26 and our guidelines around the use of technology with our youngest students, preschool through fifth grade. Now, no drum roll needed here because their work is still in progress, but I will just give you a heads up, and Ms. Roberson will share more, that we really are seeing a fruitful area to improve our work with students by reducing the time on technology, particularly preschool through second grade, preschool through third grade, just really seeing that move that we made, particularly during COVID, to make sure that every child had a device at all times. It was necessary then, but we're seeing really that it's time to turn the page. Ms. Roberson, help us out with that work.
All right, thank you so much. Good to see all of you again. Our objectives for spring semester, as you will recall, were to identify our current practices. Really, we challenged our coaches and our principals at the elementary level to walk classrooms, look at current practices so we can really get a good landing spot for where we are. And then establish shared expectations and then measure the impact of those shared expectations as we move into next year. Thank you, Dr. Swift. So some observations, what we learned. These are not anything that we wouldn't expect. So screen use is highest during indoor recess. Remember all those snow days and then days following? We saw that. During preferred activity time. And then at the end of the day, students show short attention spans, resist those transitions off the devices, even if they're going to recess, and they're really attached to those digital tools. Teachers expressed that they needed support with engagement strategies, curriculum balance, and non-tech management strategies, especially during small group instruction. And then our work as we move on, we're really working to support those digital literacy skills, but prioritizing hands-on social developmental learning experiences. Lots of research, as Dr. Swift says, outlined there. And our goal really at Lower L is to focus on play, teacher-led learning, face-to-face interaction, and then upper elementary really using a progressive model and going for a more structured academic use for research, for projects, literacy, math tasks, preparing them for that middle school transition. Our team is working really, really hard and really diligently, and we are pretty close to really outlining a guidance document for our elementary staff. And so more updated guidance will be coming soon, but this is where we're landing, and lots of support, lots of excitement for this at the elementary level.
Thank you. Would the board prefer questions at each level, or shall we barrel on to the end here?
Each level. Do we have questions about the elementary level to start?
So given that the kid, like when kids are given the option, that's what they're picking, like for that free activity time, is there any discussions about eliminating that as an option?
Yes. And, you know, coming out of COVID, that was one option, and we have spent over the last 5 years just really kind of, honing down those options when that is chosen. Mm-hmm. And so now we're ready to take the next step into eliminating that altogether from those preferred activity times, from those kind of choice menus of, you know, rewards, and just making sure that the time that we are using it, it is for instructional gain and instructional impact, and then really focusing back on those interactions, those face-to-face, you know, hands-on sort of things.
Awesome.
So I know that teachers know how to do this. So I'm asking this question as more of like a resource question, anything they might need from the board. But when you listed the times where teachers are more, or students are more likely to be engaged in those activities, those are probably also times where you might see increases in behavioral challenges, or just they're tired, they're hungry, you know, that it's the end of the day, whatever. So I'm wondering, are there, as you're going through and making assessments about what it'll look like in a elementary space without one-on-one devices, are you also calculating or considering, maybe calculating is not the word, what you might need from the board in terms of resources? Or
Absolutely, and this is part of the comprehensive elementary experience, thinking through, hopefully students will have 2 opportunities for specials and movement, 2 recesses, and so really kind of looking at this as a comprehensive approach. And one thing, getting those things like board games back out, math manipulatives out, kind of looking at the whole system. And so, yes, to answer your question, while we are working through this, there may be some materials or things that we might need, but you know, all of our teachers are really good at these things, and COVID kind of got us going a different way, and we're all ready to come back to center and get back to it. So.
I guess I would just say, I think my job as board president is to kind of read the board, and I'm sure you've read that we're very enthusiastic about this work and the endeavors that you're undertaking as it relates to this particular area. So I would just hope that we would hear from administration and from teachers about what they need if there's something that comes up you're not expecting. So
thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. And Dr. Wayman Irvin is coming to share with us a little bit about our secondary progress to prioritize the instructional environment through the reduction of cell phone distraction.
Good evening, members of the board, Madam President, and Dr. Swift, Superintendent. Our middle school instructional time, cell phone guidance, we really want them to have the cell phones not visible at the middle school level, but it was also a issue about concern, I would say, about the lunchroom. So the middle school principals have decided not to allow students to have the cell phones at lunch, but they do allow, depending on their behavior, for those fun days on Fridays, if possible. The middle school consensus, based off the principals, is consistency and clarity of expectations are key to the success of the cell phone policy. They want to still establish those healthy person-to-person interactions and habits from our cell phone policy, and also focus on engagement strategies to support teachers inside of the classroom. For our middle school lunch, some of our middle school principals implemented lunch conversation cards. So they didn't have the cell phones, so how do we engage our students to get back to talking towards each other? So here are some things a couple of questions that they had students to talk about just to get that conversation back started. Just like what Ms. Robertson said, prior to COVID, students were talking. Let's get back to the center. Let's talk about our conversation. How do you read people's faces, emotions, the words that they use? So here are about 10 questions that one particular middle school used, and also some pictures as well as students are engaged in those talks. For our high school cell phone policy, there is the clause that you see in bold. It says, unless utilized for a specific instructional purpose. We do have those classes that need to use the cell phones, like journalism. The iPhone was probably the best choice than the iPad. So they're allowed to use the instructional devices during that time period. We did do some walkthrough data when the policy passed back in December. All our instructional administrators decided to do the observations. We need a foundation. Where are we in December once this policy passed? As you can see in Lawrence High School in December 2024, they visit 23 classrooms, 445 students, 175 cell phones were visible, about 39%. We came back in February after the first 9 weeks, and you can see there's a drop from 39 to 3%. 13 cell phones were visible. In Free State, 17 classes, 340 students, 87 cell phones were visible, 25%. Back in December, that's our baseline. Come back in February after the first 9 weeks. Their observations again, 17 classes, 221 students, 4 cell phones are visible, down to 2%. As you can see, there's another graph. You can see the dramatic drop from 175 to 13, from 87 to 4, from 39% to 3, 25% to 2. A survey was sent out to both high schools to give feedback, at least the feedback from the staff. These are some notable quotables from the secondary. It's only effective because everyone is consistently enforcing it. Less behaviors, fewer power struggles over putting the phone up to work on functioning skills. It's amazing to witness. And I'll contribute that to our staff, our principals, really laying the groundwork of talking about this each and every day as we led up to the policy being approved, and also afterwards informing our parents as well. One staff member said, stay firm in this policy. Find ways to support teachers. It is truly the best thing for students. I support the policy and feel having Fun Phone Friday was a good idea.
So I appreciate both the elementary and the secondary progress that we've made. Here are kind of our next steps as we look down fourth quarter of this school year. We will continue to refine our practices. Our focus now, I'm so proud of the before and after picture. We're all inspired by the changes at elementary, and we know from research like the anxious generation that really tech engagement at too young of an age really rewires the brain, and we want to protect our students from that. So we are now looking at how to sustain cell phone-free instructional environment over time. We don't want to grow loose on this. We want to raise a generation of young people who know how to engage with each other and understand the discipline, the self-discipline, the classroom discipline of putting the cell phone away. We want to gain additional clarity on the progressive grade level expectations, and particularly the elementary team's going to refine that approach preschool through fifth grade to get us right on target moving forward. Secondary is interested in refining their progressive model of support and that learning cycle for students who may struggle with the actual act of getting that cell phone put away. I'm happy to say, because of the way we went about this, that's not a large percentage, and yet we want to attend to those places where that's happening. And then fourthly, we feel like it's really important to educate ourselves as a school community on the why of this. It's not because we dislike cell phones. It's because we love and prioritize the critical mission of our teachers and our staff during that instructional time. What they do is sacred. We want to hold that up and not allow a cell phone to distract from it. So we've not achieved all of our goals during third quarter with our book studies and our movie screenings, and we want to really get back on that, because I don't feel like we're just raising a generation of children. I feel like we're educating a generation in our community around how important this is. So watch for those announcements coming up, because we really want, I know all of us, when we're in Target or Walmart, we see small children being soothed and entertained with the technology device. And no judgment here. Any parents that's been in a Target knows how fraught that situation is. You want to keep your child, entertained if you can. But we just feel like this isn't just work for today. It's work for tomorrow and the generations that will follow, to really, I love the term, bring us back to center on our priority of the instructional environment. And so with that, members, we're open to any other questions. I didn't say it in the intro, but I want to add it now. My deep gratitude for a board that was courageous to lead the way on this effort. There are many districts that have not taken this step across the country, and their students are suffering as a result of it. So thank you for your leadership.